Welcome back to Collectability. I've been reading a lot of auction catalogs and noted that the descriptions are quite wordy and elaborate for each and every lot these days. Everything is rare, magnificent, stunning, never seen before, elusive, supremely elusive. But here at Collectability, we just like to show you some really nice things. And I have three beautiful clocks to present to you today. Let's get started with this reference 701 dome clock. This particular clock is very important in the history of Patek Philippe. I'm going to put gloves on because I want to take this out of its case and we're going to actually take a close look inside this clock so that you can see firsthand what makes these particular timepieces so interesting and important in the history of horology. So when these were originally released in the 1950s, they retailed for $1,250. Now you can compare that to a reference 1518 perpetual chronograph that now is selling for $800,000. Back then, a 1518 was only $1,500. So it's the same price point. So these 701s were reserved for the most important Patek Philippe collectors, the type of collectors that already had everything else. And they would put these on their desk or their mantle, and it was something that was a true showpiece. Now, the reason it's shaped like this with the solar panel, top and the dome is simple. It's so that you could rotate it to face the light. So if you were near a window, you would rotate it to face outwards so the clock would be powered up. Now, the way they work is quite incredible. The solar cell takes the energy and converts it into a accumulator, essentially a battery. And that winds a mainspring that winds a pocket watch that's within. And we're going to take a look at that right now. Rarely are these opened. I've never seen it done on YouTube before. So hopefully this is a bit of a first so you can see what's inside one of these mid-century dome clocks. If you're ever in this position where you need to open one, always wrap a case knife in plastic so that you don't damage the gilt as you literally have to shimmy this open just a bit to see what's inside. So just gently lift and you'll see the dome will literally lift up the clock. Now, I'm going to disconnect the solar panels right now so that we can take a closer look at what's inside. First, I'm going to disconnect the black wire. And next, I'm going to disconnect the red wire. Now, as we look inside the clock, you'll be able to see the magic within. And there, ticking away, is a 17 lean pocket watch movement. And these were typically pocket watch movements that were originally made for Gondolo that Patek Philippe kept in inventory. And they were able to use these in these amazing mid-20th century marvels of technology. So essentially, these are mechanical. It's just the power of the sun is winding a pocket watch. That's as simple as it is. And you can see how the pocket watch is geared to move the hours and the minute hands through the front of the dial. It's a brilliant mechanism. It's as simple as it is complex, but it's fun to see how these are constructed. The next piece I'd like to show you is something that is even more rare. Here I have a Chronotome CP in its original box. This is heavy. This has to be about 15 to 20 pounds. Now, there's a reason this is so heavy. Let's take a look at the Chronotome. This is essentially a solid brick of metal. This was a specific alloy used by Patek Philippe to keep the clock from being magnetized, to help keep it more accurate. And indeed, this was used in some pretty sensitive places. Number one, these clocks were used on military expeditions. Number two, they were also used on some scientific expeditions. And the reason I say the word expedition is because these were for traveling. This is a portable quartz oscillating timepiece. So at that period of time, if you needed to get something accurate to 1/100th of a second, rather than bringing a giant master clock, you didn't have GPS or satellites to get the time. You had to bring the time with you. And this was how you did it. And it came at a price. These cost over $10,000 in the early 1960s. So I wanted to show you for the first time the inside of a chronotome to appreciate the mechanism within, because it's not like what we just looked at in the dome clock. It has some other surprises to share with us. So I recently opened this to change the batteries. You'll be quite surprised to know that it's actually powered by C-cell batteries. There's actually 6 of them that are able to power this clock. But you're going to see layer upon layer of the most beautiful electronics you've ever seen before. During our Meeting Point exhibition this past summer, I learned so much about what makes Patek Philippe electronics from the 20th century so important. Literally, these are works of art. And I met a lot of people who collect electronics that look at these circuit boards in the same way that you and I might look at the beauty of a tourbillon or how a split second is constructed. In the world of electronics, this is the highest end handmade, hand-drawn circuit boards that the world has ever seen. Now let's take a closer look. I'm gonna put the cap back on and we're gonna take it out of the box so that you too can see what's inside. So you can see with the circuit board, each of the circuits are connected with silver, which was the most expensive and most lavish way to make each of these analog circuits. We have, as part of our collectability library, all of the hand-drawn drawings of each of these circuit boards. And you could see the Patek Philippe artisans literally had to draw each circuit by hand before it went into production, because indeed each one is different. So as we know, with the development of GPS technology, these became remnants of the past. But I think only now we're starting to see scholars, collectors, and people just fascinated about this mid-20th century and even late 20th century history of electronics start to collect these and give the appreciation that they deserve. I do want to show there is a mechanical component to the Chronotome, and you could see that Patek Philippe made these gear trains for use with this electronic clock. And you can see it's a hybrid of this old and new technology. The last clock I have to show you today, I cannot wait to share with you the surprise, because this particular clock is quite extraordinary. Without further ado, let's take a look at the dial. You'll see it's signed Patek Philippe Genève, but that's not the surprise. The true surprise you'll see in green, it says, "In need, freedom is latent." And under that, it's signed Colonel Gaddafi. Now this particular clock has a presentation inscription, which you'll see in Arabic. I had some friends translate. It says, "With regards, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi." This was indeed a presentation gift from Gaddafi in the early 1970s. The original instruction manual is still with the clock, and also the original certificate of origin. Now, Gaddafi and Patek Philippe had a relationship that isn't very much discussed. But I remember back in March 19th, there was a very important ellipse that was presented to the market, and it brought over $187,000. It had a green dial, this beautiful white gold bracelet ellipse, and it had this Arabic inscription above 6 o'clock that also said the same things we see here with this Navicords. It said, "In need, freedom is latent." And it's just incredible that Gaddafi had the relationships with Geneva in order to get these custom-made pieces that he was gifting to his friends. And I don't know if we'll ever hear the whole story about this relationship, but we do have absolute proof that these pieces were made for Gaddafi. And when they show up on the market, people get quite excited. And it is amazing that Collectability has this to share with you for the first time. So there you have it. There are 3 clocks in front of me that are in no need of superlatives. They simply speak for themselves. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, and also TikTok. And remember, enjoy the hunt.